The Nikon Z6 series has long been known as Nikon's do-it-all line, the cameras that sit perfectly between entry-level and flagship. They aren't the most expensive or the most feature-packed, but they strike a balance that appeals to photographers and filmmakers alike. The Z6 line has always represented Nikon's effort to combine professional-grade features with an approachable price. Now, as anticipation builds for the Nikon Z6 IV, the big question is whether this next model can raise the bar once again, or if it will struggle to please everyone at once. To understand what we might expect from the Nikon Z6 IV, it helps to revisit what made the Z6 III so successful. Priced around $2,500 at launch, the Z6 III pushed the series further into semi-professional territory. Nikon gave it a partially stacked 24-megapixel sensor, a smart move that delivered faster readout speeds and responsiveness without the high cost of a fully stacked flagship sensor. This allowed for burst shooting at up to 14 frames per second with the mechanical shutter and up to 20 frames per second electronically. For users shooting JPEGs or an APS-C crop mode, it could even reach 60 or 120 frames per second respectively, numbers that, just a few years earlier, were reserved for flagship cameras. Video performance was where the Z6 III truly came alive. It could shoot internal 10-bit video, record 6K RAW at 60p, and capture 6K ProRes RAW at 30p. Serious filmmaking specs in a mid-tier camera. Nikon also introduced helpful monitoring tools like waveforms, bridging the gap between professional cinema cameras and hybrid mirrorless bodies. Perhaps most importantly, Nikon's autofocus finally caught up with the competition. In both photo and video, tracking became faster, more accurate, and far more dependable, something users had been waiting for since the first-generation Z cameras. All these features helped the Z6 III become a reliable hybrid camera for professionals and enthusiasts alike. But it also set expectations sky-high for its successor. The Z6 IV will need to improve meaningfully, without stepping too close to Nikon's higher-end Z8 and Z9. That's a delicate balancing act for any manufacturer. Rumors about the Nikon Z6 IV have been both exciting and divisive. On one hand, some reports suggest Nikon might take a big leap in resolution, possibly adopting a 61-megapixel sensor. If true, this would be more than double the resolution of the Z6 III's 24-megapixel chip, positioning the Z6 IV as a strong choice for landscape, studio, and commercial photographers who demand extreme detail and flexibility for cropping. However, such a move could blur the line between the Z6 and Z7 series, both in price and performance. Nikon will need to be careful not to undermine its own product tiers. Some of the more extreme rumors, like talk of a 300-megapixel prototype sensor, are almost certainly unrealistic for a camera in this price bracket. Such a sensor would require massive changes in processing power, buffer speed, and file handling. It would also generate enormous data rates that only flagship cameras could handle. A far more believable possibility is that Nikon could include a new high-resolution mode similar to pixel shift systems used by competitors. This would allow the Z6 IV to capture ultra-detailed images, possibly up to 200 megapixels, when mounted on a tripod, while keeping normal resolution for everyday shooting. That kind of flexibility would fit perfectly with Nikon's hybrid for everyone philosophy. When it comes to video, expectations are more grounded. Z6 IV is expected to continue Nikon's recent momentum by offering full-sensor 4K 60p recording and perhaps even 120p with a crop for slow motion. This wouldn't surpass the Z8 or Z9, but it would give content creators plenty of creative freedom for YouTube, documentaries, or commercial projects. Improved color depth, reduced rolling shutter, and better heat management would make the Z6 IV an even more capable hybrid workhorse. Stabilization is another area Nikon will likely refine. The Z6 III already offered excellent in-body image stabilization, but early reports suggest the Z6 IV could push that up to 6 stops of shake reduction. For handheld shooters, that's a major deal. especially for those shooting low-light video or stills without a gimbal. Combined with improved autofocus algorithms, Nikon seems determined to make handheld shooting smoother and more confident than ever. In terms of design, the Z6 IV will probably stay close to its predecessors. Expect a rugged, weather-sealed magnesium alloy body built for reliability in all conditions. Some small refinements are likely, such as a sharper, higher-resolution electronic viewfinder and possibly a fully articulating screen. While some photographers prefer the traditional tilting display, the fully rotating flippy screen has become a favorite for vloggers and hybrid creators. Nikon is unlikely to drop that flexibility in a camera positioned for broad appeal. As for price, industry watchers expect a small bump. Early projections suggest the Nikon Z6 IV will cost between $2,700 and $3,000, slightly higher than the Z6 III, but still well below the Z8. If Nikon delivers real improvements in resolution, autofocus, and video quality, this increase will likely feel justified. However, it also risks pushing some buyers toward discounted Z6 III or even Z7 II units. So Nikon will need to clearly demonstrate why the Z6 IV deserves its premium. Among photographers and fans, the community wishlist for the Z6 IV is as passionate as ever. Many want Nikon to bring back the multi-directional tilt screen found on higher-end models, arguing it's better for composing shots at creative angles. Others are calling for a pop-up flash for fill light or autofocus assist, though Nikon has mostly abandoned built-in flashes on its mid-tier and pro-level cameras. Some traditionalists have even suggested Nikon make a stills-only version of the Z6 IV, removing video features to focus purely on photography. But that idea seems dead on arrival. Today's mirrorless market is dominated by hybrid shooters, and Nikon has no reason to step backward when it has finally gained momentum in video. There's also debate around what kind of sensor Nikon should use. Some fans hope for a 45-megapixel semi-stacked sensor, arguing it would deliver the perfect mix of resolution and speed. But that too would risk overlapping with the Z7 and Z8. It's far more likely that Nikon will keep the Z6 IV in the 24 to 33 megapixel range, enough for detailed stills but optimized for hybrid performance. Nikon's product lineup has always worked best when each model has a clearly defined role, and the Z6 IV will need to maintain that balance. Storage options will probably follow Nikon's existing formula: one CF Express Type B slot paired with a UHS-2 SD slot. This combination provides flexibility and keeps costs under control. While dual CF Express slots would be ideal for speed and redundancy, Nikon will likely reserve that setup for the Z8 and Z9. It may not redefine the mirrorless world overnight, but it could once again prove why the Z6 line remains the heart of Nikon's modern lineup: reliable, versatile, and ready for anything.